Hey, welcome back to Phaser Tech. So today I'm finally showing off my custom built pedalboard and pedals. I actually built this several years ago, and not only did I cut the wood and stain it myself, but most of the pedals are clones that I built myself as well. All of them except 3. Can you tell which ones they are? Honestly, it's not that hard to tell, especially up close, because they're pretty beat up now. But since most of them are clones of existing pedals, I thought it would be fun and challenging to sort of mimic the appearance of the originals while also adding my own custom flair. For example, you can see the graphics on my C Machine clone were heavily modified to fit my layout. It's not an exact copy, and it took time to draw the sections that I changed. Also, not only was the artwork modified, but most of the circuits have slight changes from the original schematics that I based them on. So this video will be more of a general introduction into pedals, and I'm going to use it as a segue into 2 separate videos in the future. One of them is going to be on a pedal theory video that will go into detail on how I selected these pedals and what's the optimal order to place them in. And then the other video I have planned is actually a series. I'm planning to make several videos of a detailed guide of how to build your own pedals from scratch like I did here. So for right now, I'll just be doing a quick demo of each pedal so you can hear how they sound, and also I'll say a few words about them. So I'll be playing this through this JCM 800 clone that I built from a kit. And actually I made a video about it already, so if you'd like to see that, I'll leave a link in the description below. Also, I'll be mainly sticking to the bridge pickup on my Strat, just for some consistency so you can hear what the pedal changes actually sound like. Alright, so let's get into it. So first I'll play my clean tone with no pedals on. Alright, so that's the bass line. Now, the first pedals I'm going to talk about are this OCD, which I generally keep on just to limit the volume. And I also tend to keep on this Germania pedal at the beginning to give my volume control more dynamic response. So for example, if I turn the volume up, I get really distorted tone. And if I roll back the volume a bit, I can clean it up. See, so it went from more of a lead tone to a crunchy rhythm. So that's generally how I keep my gain stack, like my bass tone. If you'd like to learn more about gain staging, I'm going to talk about that more in my next video. So just wanted to mention that if you're wondering why I'm leaving those pedals on most of the time. Okay, so like I just showed, this Germania pedal is the first in the chain, and I have it on the hi-fi mode, which provides higher gain, but there's also the lo-fi mode. Alright, so I'm gonna go back to the high gain tone just to give you more of an idea of how that sounds. Alright, on to the next pedal. So, I'm gonna leave this on, like I said. Okay, so the next pedal in the chain is the wah. So not much to say about this one. As you can tell, I didn't build it. I actually found a good deal on it on Craigslist, so I just decided to get it. It's not fastened right now to the board. It turns out the Velcro wouldn't hold. So I'm still thinking of the best way to fasten it, but I'm probably just gonna screw holes through the wood. Alright, so the next pedal in the chain is the Jangle Box compressor. Now this is a unique compressor since it has this 3-way switch that allows you to switch between a dark tone to a neutral to a bright tone. So I have it on the dark setting now, and here's an example of my tone without it. Now that was the dark setting. Here's the neutral. And then the last setting is the bright setting, and that gives a really chimey-like tone that's reminiscent of the Beatles or that birds sort of sound. So, for example, so next up is a clone of a Univibe from Earthquaker Devices, which is actually one of my favorite pedal companies. I have 3 clones of their pedals on here. But anyway, this one is called the Depths, and it gives a very lush and swirly sort of sound. Let's have a listen. So without the pedal on, and with the pedal on. Let me increase the intensity a bit. All right. So now to the next one. So if you play guitar, you might recognize this pedal. It's a clone of the Phase 90. Except I replaced the brand with my initials, of course. And also, if you've seen the channel, you've probably heard this effect before. See, I didn't forget the intro of this video.
Boo, you suck!
Moving on. So this next pedal is another one I did not build myself. It's from TC Electronics and it's a flanger pedal. Now this is a pretty straightforward flanger, nothing special about it, and I wouldn't say it's the best one around, but it gets the job done when you need those spacey jet-like sounds. Alright, the next pedal in the chain is another one you might have heard before. It's a Big Muff Pie Fuzz. Oh, yeah, with fuzzes you might want to turn off other gain pedals. Yeah, it gets pretty loud. And next up is another clone of an Earthquaker Devices pedal. This one is called Plumes, and it's a reworked version of the Tube Screamer. And I like this one because it has a switch that allows you to switch what type of diode clipping you want. And I tend to use this one a lot with solos. So here it goes. Now this next one is my most unique design, and that's because it's actually a 2-in-1 pedal and it's not based on any existing pedal. It contains a noise gate followed by an 8-band equalizer. Now I decided to paint this pedal gold, and it turns out the gold paint is much softer than the other paint, and I ended up kind of messing it up because the layers were too soft. But the result ended up reminding me of something you might find in a Zelda game, like the Triforce or something really ancient and old. So I decided to give this one a Zelda style theme because that was one of my favorite childhood games. So let me first give you an example of the noise gate. I'm going to switch to single coil so you can really hear that lovely 60s cycle hum. So that's with it off. And now with the noise gate on, you can tell the reduction in the hum is quite a bit. See? Alright, so next, and the other switch controls the 8-band EQ. Now the bands that I chose are the frequencies that I feel like give the most control over the tone. So right now I have it set for scoop mids, which will give a sort of Metallica James Hetfield type of tone. Alright, so here it goes. Sorry, I know the playing's a little sloppy. I don't practice as much as I would really like to. But anyway, now the next pedal is the OCD. Like I said earlier, I usually keep this as a volume limiting pedal. You can tell the drive is all the way down right now. But let's hear how it sounds with the drive turned up. Alright, next pedal. Now this next one is another clone from an Earthquaker Devices pedal. It's called the C Machine and it's quite a capable chorus. So here's how my clean sound is without the pedal. And with the pedal on. Now this chorus comes with some extra features that makes it pretty unique. For example, it has this dimension knob that adds a echo, a slapback effect. And also this animation knob gets things really crazy with some heavy modulated effects. Take a listen. Let me turn it up to get it really crazy. Pretty nice. You can see why they call it the C Machine. Okay, next up is the faux analog echo delay from Wampler pedals. But of course I didn't put Wampler pedals on it because it's a clone that I made. So, well, first let me play something, add some gain on here. All right. And with the delay on. Now, the pedal still uses a basic digital chip to create the repeats, but the tone stack they use gives a really warm and nice sounding sound that's reminiscent of the old analog tape echoes, which sound really nice. So, this is a good delay in my opinion. And finally, the last pedal on my board is the third pedal I did not build myself. It's the Digitech Polara, and it's a really nice reverb pedal for the price. Now obviously this isn't on the same level as like a Strymon or anything like that, but for the price, I think it offers a good amount of different types of reverbs, and they all sound pretty good. For example, let's listen to the spring. And of course it has the typical hall effects and room reverbs, but one of the more interesting ones is called the halo effect. So let's give this one a listen. You can hear the halo effect add some really high octave chimey sounds on top of the reverb. I like it. And finally, the pedal can do some really out there effects when you really want to play some trippy stuff. Kind of sounds like Jimmy Page with the violin bow or something. But anyway, so that's my first custom built pedal board. And I say it's my first because I'm probably going to do another one at some point without any compromises. For example, like I just said, this reverb isn't a Strymon because I don't have $400 to spend on one right now. But I would like to get one at some point. But speaking of digital pedals, I've actually designed my own before, but it's still in the breadboard stages, and it's not as advanced as something you'd find today, but more similar to the digital effects that you'd find in the 80s or 90s. So far I was able to program a fuzz effect onto it before moving on to another project. But I do plan to return to DSP at some point in the future and add more effects to it. But that's all for today. This was meant to just be sort of an introduction, and I'll go into more detail on all this stuff in later videos, so stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.